Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into one of the most fundamental and yet kind of mysterious human abilities, how we learn to talk. It's something we all just do. But how it happens? Well, that sparked one of the biggest debates in science.
I mean, think about it. It really is a miracle we see every single day. A baby's first babbles and coos somehow transform into fluent, complex conversation. But the science behind it? It's been a total battleground of ideas for decades. So what exactly makes this incredible skill possible?
The entire debate really boils down to this one huge question. Is it all about nurture or is it nature? Is the human mind a blank slate waiting for the world to write on it, or does it come with the software for language pre-installed?
All right, so let's start with the first major theory, the one that argued that language is all about nurture, that it's just a habit learned like any other. So, before the 1960s, this was pretty much the only game in town. The idea was that a child's mind is a tabula rasa, a completely blank slate, and language is simply etched onto it through experience. The process, they said, was simple and logical. A child hears cookie, they try to say cookie, and they get a reward, either praise or, hey, the actual cookie. You get it right, the pattern gets reinforced. You get it wrong, you get corrected until the right habit finally sticks.
And this famous kind of bold claim from psychologist B.F. Skinner, it just perfectly captures that behaviorist belief. To them, language wasn't some special magical thing happening in the brain. It was just a behavior you could see, and one you could train and condition bit by bit.
But, and this is a big but, this is where the theory starts to fall apart. See, if kids only learn by imitating what they hear, then how on earth do they come up with sentences they've never ever heard an adult say?
Just take a classic example, a kid saying, "Mom wented." They're definitely not imitating an adult, because nobody talks like that. What they're actually doing is so much more creative. They've figured out the rule for making something past tense. You add ed to it, and they're applying that rule. And that creative mistake is exactly what pure behaviorism just can't explain.
And that brings us to the revolution. It was sparked by a challenger who came along and said, nope, we're not blank slates at all. The truth is, we're born to speak.
So in the 1960s, this linguist, Noam Chomsky, came along and completely upended the whole debate. He argued that language is way too complex and we learn it way too fast for it to just be imitation and feedback. It has to be pre-wired into our brains from birth. Chomsky's huge idea was something he called the language acquisition device, or LAD for short. So imagine it like this. Our brains don't come empty. They come with a pre-installed universal grammar. It's like the operating system for any human language. This system already knows the basic rules that all languages share. The LAD just listens to the language around it, whether that's English, Japanese, or Swahili, and it just kind of adjusts the settings.
Now, check out Chomsky's famous example on this slide. Colorless, green ideas sleep furiously. That sentence is complete and utter nonsense, right? Ideas can't be green, they can't sleep. And yet, you, as an English speaker, instantly know that it's a perfectly structured, grammatically correct sentence. And that was Chomsky's proof that our brain's understanding of grammar is a system that's totally separate from meaning.
And here, this was a major blow to behaviorism. One big study found that only 3% of the mistakes people make when learning a second language were actually caused by habits from their first language. Now, if language was just a set of habits, you'd expect that number to be way, way higher. This suggests learning a new language isn't just about swapping out old habits. It's about firing up that built-in grammar system all over again.
So, is it all nature, then? Case closed? Well, not quite. The debate didn't stop there. Later on, new theories popped up that suggested a kind of synthesis, a middle ground, where our innate abilities need the outside world to really come alive.
So this brings us to that middle ground, cognitivism. This school of thought agrees with Chomsky. Yeah, we've got these innate abilities. But, they argue, language isn't some special separate module in the brain. Instead, it's tied directly to our overall cognitive development. Our ability to think and reason and just make sense of the world. The famous psychologist Jean Piaget argued that language basically develops in lockstep with our brain's growth, as you can see in these stages. For Piaget, you have to understand a concept before you can use the word for it. A kid has to first grasp the idea of size before they can really meaningfully say a house is bigger than a car. In other words, thought comes before language.
But what if it's the other way around? Another key thinker, Lev Vygotsky, he kind of flipped this idea right on its head. He argued that it's our social world, our interactions with other people, that actually pulls our language and our thinking forward. And he explained this with a really powerful idea called the zone of proximal development. This is basically the sweet spot for learning. It's that little gap between what a child can already do all by themselves and what they can do with a little bit of help. When a parent helps a kid sound out a new word or helps them build a sentence, they're working right inside that zone, giving them the support they need to get to the next level.
So here's the crucial difference. Piaget saw language as something that unfolds from the inside out, driven by these biological stages. Vygotsky saw it as being built from the outside in, driven by social interaction. For Vygotsky, education isn't just helpful, it's the very engine of our development.
Okay, so why does any of this philosophical debate actually matter? Well, because these theories directly shape the really practical ways we teach and learn languages today.
You can literally draw a straight line from each of these theories to a specific teaching method. Behaviorism, the whole language is a habit idea, that gave us the audiolingual method, think endless drills and repetition. Innatism, the language's innate idea, that inspired the natural approach, where the whole focus is just on absorbing language you can understand. And cognitivism, which sees language as social interaction, well, that led to communicative language teaching, where the goal is to actually use language to talk to people and solve problems.
So the next time you hear a child stumbling over a new word or making one of those creative mistakes, you're not just witnessing something cute. You're actually seeing one of science's greatest debates play out in real time. That incredible dance between what we're born with and what the world gives us. And now, as we're teaching AI to talk, it forces us to ask that question all over again. What is that unique human spark? Is it nature, nurture, or maybe something else entirely?